Incogni versus DeleteMe. Which personal information deletion service is better and why? Look, you've probably seen plenty of endorsements for both of these products here on YouTube, but today I'll try to give you an honest, objective answer on which one you should get and why. By the way, quick disclaimer, something you should know is that Incogni is a product from Surfshark, but now let's get on to the comparison. So to give you a quick intro into why you should even get a data deletion service in the first place, it's really all about protecting your privacy and your personal information online. You probably have no idea that hundreds of data broker companies collect and sell our personal information. It's one of the shadiest practices happening on internet today, all without most people even knowing about it. With your data being sold to marketers or even bad actors, you might find yourself getting more unwanted contact via phone, email, and snail mail. From spam to scams to trolls and even stalkers. Insurers can also use that info to jack up your insurance premiums. But by far, the worst thing that can happen is identity theft. But at the end of the day, at least for me, using a personal data removal service comes down to having peace of mind in knowing that my data isn't publicly available. Luckily, personal data removal services exist to help solve this issue with minimal to no effort when compared to having to do it all yourself. Because yes, removing personal data from data broker sites manually is rather time consuming. Not impossible, but time consuming. Right, so with that out of the way, let's get into our comparison of Incogni and DeleteMe. When comparing personal data deletion services, the easiest and most objective figure that you can look at is the number of data brokers each service covers, because that number heavily impacts how much of your personal info that service can delete from the internet. So if you take a look at Incogni and DeleteMe based on just raw numbers alone, you'll see a couple of differences. DeleteMe claims to cover over 750 data brokers in total, but not so fast. This number is a bit deceiving because for the vast majority of those data brokers to delete your information, you have to use DeleteMe's manual custom removal request feature. What am I talking about here? Well, again, the point of using a service like DeleteMe or Incogni is the convenience of not having to submit data removal requests yourself and instead having them do it for you. But if you buy DeleteMe based on the numbers they provide, you might be left wondering why the service isn't working as well as it claimed to be. DeleteMe's manual removals feature boosts its data broker coverage numbers, but it means that you'll still have to spend a lot of your own time ensuring your data is deleted, which kind of defeats the purpose of subscribing to an automated personal data deletion service in the first place, if you ask me. What's also important to note is that you have a limited number of these manual requests that you can do, limited to just 60 per year. So the actual number of data brokers that DeleteMe covers automatically, again, emphasis on the word automatically, is closer to around 180. Now, looking at Incogni, the numbers here are a lot more transparent. Incogni scores a win by covering over 270 data brokers through automated removals, with new ones being added on a regular basis. And Incogni also has its own custom data removal feature. But really, I can't stress enough how important the number of automated data broker removals is, as that is what's really going to save you the most amount of time when trying to get your info off the internet. Now, as I've mentioned, both Incogni and DeleteMe offer custom removals feature. This is a great thing as you can add a website or a data broker that is not on Incogni's list, and one of their privacy experts will work on removing it for you. But again, ideally everything would be automated, but having this kind of feature is still good. The only difference is that with DeleteMe, you get a limited number of custom removals that you can do, or rather request. That number is of making this video is again limited to 60 per year, while Incogni offers unlimited custom removals with the unlimited plan. Before we dive into each service general user experience, let's talk about customer service, as well that could be an important factor for you. This is an area where DeleteMe has an edge over Incogni, offering both phone support and live chat. Although DeleteMe's customer service is accessible only during the office hours in the US Eastern time zone. Incogni doesn't offer phone support, but it does have 24/7 live chat and email available, so this could be better if you live in regions like the EU or simply don't have the time during business hours. Oh, and something we should also note is that DeleteMe does offer additional privacy features such as email masking and also a search yourself feature, which we'll talk about a bit later, as well as phone masking. And while Incogni doesn't offer additional features by default, it is created by Surfshark, as we mentioned in the intro, and you can currently buy Incogni's standard plan with the Surfshark One Plus bundle and get Incogni as well as a VPN, antivirus, email masking via its alternative ID feature, it's honestly a really good deal that will cover nearly all aspects of your online privacy. But speaking of deals and prices, DeleteMe has various plans available, and as of making of this video, you can buy a 1-year annual plan for $129 or get a 2-year plan for $209. There are also plans for couples and families, which do cost more but allow you to add more people to delete data for. And something else to note about DeleteMe is that it does not feature a monthly plan or a free trial. Incogni, on the other hand, does have a monthly plan available at $17 per month. However, with an annual plan, that price comes down to $102 for a whole year, equivalent to $8.50 per month. Incogni also has a family plan to which you can add up to 5 members for data removal. It also has a more premium plan called Unlimited, which lets you submit an unlimited number of custom removal requests that we mentioned earlier. Overall, Incogni does come out as the more affordable option in the end, and it has that monthly plan available for more flexibility if you just want to test things out. If I were me, and I would just grab the Surfshark One Plus bundle for its crazy good value, getting the Incogni standard plan plus all the Surfshark tools in the same bundle. Also, please note that prices can change depending on when you're watching this video. All right, let's finally discuss how it feels to actually use both of these products, starting with Incogni. Right after you sign up, you'll be prompted to enter the bare minimum of personal information Incogni needs to identify the profiles in data broker databases. And while this might seem strange at first, it's actually normal in the personal data deletion service industry, as how else could such a service know what data to look for and delete? Anyway, after that, you'll be presented with the main Incogni dashboard, and here you'll find the nice graph that shows you your data removal requests over time, something that I do find to be really nice. It allows you to easily monitor Incogni's progress and watch it work. And work it does, as the green line keeps growing, indicating that more and more of my personal data has been removed over time. Just below that, you can also find this nice little box showing you how much time you've saved, as well as the number of data brokers that added you to the suppression lists. The suppression list number indicates how many data brokers will not recollect your data again. Yes, you heard that right. Data brokers can actually recollect your data after a certain period of time has passed. Anyway, below all that, you can also find the activity log, which essentially is a status update list showing you what Incogni is doing as it works to get your data deleted. Incogni's dashboard also has something called the detailed view, accessible here from the top. Here you'll find a long list of Incogni's automated data removal requests that it sent to different data broker companies. It's a nice way to check which data brokers complied with the removal request and which ones are being stubborn and resistant and perhaps requiring additional action to get the job done. Oh, and of course, it also allows you to follow each data broker request individually with these statuses. Lastly, next to the detailed view, you can also access the custom removals feature we spoke of previously. That's as far as the general use of Incogni goes, though, for its website dashboard. However, we should also mention that Incogni also sends out monthly privacy reports to your email address so you can review your data removal progress without even going to incogni.com. Overall, what I want out of a personal data deletion services website or app is for it to really display how well the service is working and whether my data is actually being deleted or not. And I think Incogni nails this aspect by showing you that graph right when you open the dashboard and giving you more details if you want them. I did mention an app though, and that is something that Incogni doesn't have at the time of making of this video, but I do prefer apps over having to go to a website, and an app is something that Incogni team is working on. It may even be out as you're watching this video. Let's move on to talking about what it's like to use DeleteMe now. Similar to Incogni, DeleteMe will prompt you to enter some of your information right after you register. What's different from Incogni, however, is that DeleteMe allows you to enter additional information like employer info, and interestingly, you can also provide your ID. Now, that caught my attention because honestly, a lot of people consider their ID to be an extremely sensitive document. But DeleteMe asks for your ID so it can send it to data brokers in case they ask for it to confirm data deletion. So right after providing your info, you'll be met with DeleteMe's dashboard, and right away, it does feel a little bit busier than Incogni's, and this could be just my personal preference. of course, but my subjective user interface take aside, right up top, DeleteMe presents you with 3 info boxes. One showing you your last privacy report, which we'll talk about in just a sec, another showing your subscription status, and finally an info box for selecting which data might belong to you, as some data points can bring up multiple profiles. Below all that, you can also find the number of data listings that DeleteMe has reviewed, as well as the number of listings removed, which at first, these numbers seemed a little strange to me. Over 1,600 listings reviewed in July and only 4 listings removed. In all fairness, this could very well be true, but I do get a sense that DeleteMe is boosting their progress numbers similar to their data broker coverage. Essentially what's happening is that a listing is a data point. So if one data broker has 10 of your data points, instead of saying they removed or reviewed 1 data broker, DeleteMe will say that they reviewed 10 listings. And again, there's nothing necessarily bad about that. It's just that it's a different way of calculating the number of listings reviewed and removed, but that big number can appear a bit deceiving and make you feel like DeleteMe is working way better than it might actually be. But let's back up a little bit and talk about those privacy reports, as it's actually a rather unique feature from DeleteMe. You can access them right from the dashboard here, except that after clicking this button to get to the report, I received an error. Yeah, but hey, no worries, as you can also access them from the left side here via the reports button. And here it is, a personal privacy report PDF file made just for you. I won't lie, at first I thought this was really nice, though upon further inspection, these report PDFs do feel rather robotic or automatically generated, which does make sense, as making a custom privacy report for each user is, well, unrealistic. But that does mean that this report is rather bland and feels like it just could have been integrated into the dashboard instead. Like, instead of showing me all this info, DeleteMe could just integrate it into their website or app for much easier access. What I found annoying is how DeleteMe uses these privacy reports to try and upsell you on plan upgrades and friend referrals, as well as Amazon gift cards. And by the way, not that Amazon gift cards are a bad referral reward, but I do want to mention that Incogni too has a refer a friend program, but instead of gift cards, you can get paid with actual cash, which I think overall is better than plain old gift cards. Overall, DeleteMe's custom privacy reports feature had a lot going for it, but in the end, it just felt super gimmicky and honestly painful to navigate. One nice thing about DeleteMe's dashboard is that it does have a dark mode, which I really appreciate. As I'm kind of a night owl, having this option, is really nice to not be blinded by white space. Yeah, props to that. Finally, on the left side, you can also access DeleteMe's additional privacy tools, as well as the data sheet. This is the same menu we were in earlier, and just like before, DeleteMe will prompt you with info that they found that might belong to you, so you can indicate whether it does or not. And below that is where you can also edit the personal information you want DeleteMe to look for online in case your address or phone number has changed. Now, the search yourself feature is really interesting. It essentially allows you to Google yourself and request DeleteMe to remove your info from those searches. The question is, how well does this really work? Because for me, the removals are still pending after a month and a half, but it's a neat feature nonetheless. To sum up my DeleteMe experience, it was kind of mixed. I do think DeleteMe's marketing claim to cover over 750 data brokers is misleading and can lead to people buying the service and then realizing they have to do a ton of manual removals to get what they paid for is kind of not good, I think. The interface could also be a lot better, though what's good is that DeleteMe does have an app for both Android and iOS. And while features like search yourself look promising, I'm yet to see how well it really works. Other features like personalized PDF privacy reports just ended up being disappointing, and something that could also just been a part of the main dashboard UI instead. Alright, so overall, which data deletion service is better, Incogni or DeleteMe? Well, before we talk about that, let's discuss one key difference between these two services that I haven't mentioned until now. If you know anything about data brokers, you'll know that they fall into one of two categories: public database data brokers and private database data brokers. Public database data brokers are essentially people's search sites. They are comparable to those big yellow phone books people used to have. But the thing is, public database data brokers are only the tip of the iceberg, as private database data brokers collect marketing information, financial information, employment histories, purchasing habits, relationship statuses, locations, and more. And that's the thing, DeleteMe mostly only covers public database data brokers. As far as private database data brokers go, they only tackle some marketing ones. This is where Incogni shines, as it covers both public and private database data brokers. Covering private database data brokers is actually fairly rare in the industry and is again something that Incogni does really well. Additionally, if cost is important to you, Incogni takes another win by being more affordable. But not only that, it also has a wider automated data broker removal coverage, leading DeleteMe by almost 100 data brokers. And listen, DeleteMe will probably expand their list, but so will Incogni. Incogni also has, in my opinion, the better, more intuitive, and easier to use user interface. So for all those reasons, in 2025, I do believe Incogni is an overall better service. Now, while DeleteMe has a lot going for it, like having that unique search yourself feature and offering customer support over a phone, it covers fewer data brokers. But hey, let me know what you think of this comparison in the comments. If you want to know more about data brokers and how their industry works, go check out this video next, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.